Good evening. I'm Peter Naiman, President of Piscataway Lodge number 2414. I would like to thank the officers, members, and guests for attending this evening's remembrance ceremony. Before we begin, I would like to ask everyone to turn off their cell phones or please set them to vibrate. Please rise for the pledge to our flag and remain standing for a prayer read by Lodge Trustee Valerie Johnson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we come together to lift up and pray for the families and loved ones of those who lost their lives on September 11th. Lord, their lives will never be forgotten, and our hearts go out to those who lost someone dear from the events of that day. Those left behind were robbed of such important and valuable people. Please comfort them as this anniversary returns yet again. Be present among them in their grief, and Lord, we pray that those surrounding them would offer kindness where they can, that they would be able to celebrate the precious lives of those who died with honor. May sweet memories of good times be shared and recalled, and may there be a sense of peace in knowing they do not grieve their loss alone. Please bless them with your love this day. In God's name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Valerie. You may be seated. Today is September 11th, and we're here to commemorate the events that took place on this date. I am honored to be standing in front of you today as one of the speakers representing our lodge as we perform this remembrance ceremony for our community. May the lives remembered, the deeds recognized, and the spirit reawakened be eternal beacons which reaffirm respect for life, strengthen our resolve to preserve freedom, and inspire an end to hatred, ignorance, and intolerance. These words are part of the mission statement of the National September 11th Memorial and Museum at the World Trade Center in New York City. As we know, freedom is the cornerstone of the American way of life, and on September 11th, 2001, our lives were changed forever. Today we acknowledge the 24-year anniversary of the day we witnessed a purposeful, large-scale destruction of innocent and defenseless lives on American soil. Just as December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day, defined a generation, September 11th helped shape who we are and what we believe in. It reminded us how fragile our freedom can be, but the day holds countless stories of survival, courage, and heroism, which is also revealed the strength of freedom. We pay tribute by honoring those who lost their freedom on 9/11 and those brave warriors who have made the ultimate sacrifice by defending our freedom since that date. Thousands lost their lives when 2 planes crashed into the World Trade Center, another into the Pentagon, and a 4th plane heading towards Washington, D.C., which fell in a Pennsylvania field. When the towers fell, 749 New Jersey residents, 3 from Piscataway, lost their lives. We felt shock, disbelief, and anguish, and as a country we mourned and searched for answers. But more importantly, we gathered the strength to move forward. On December 18, 2001, President George W. Bush signed Joint Resolution 71, presented by the U.S. House of Representatives, designating September 11th of each year as Patriots Day. On this day, the President directs that the American flag be flown at half-staff and for a moment of silence beginning at 8:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, commemorating the time the first plane crashed on September 11th, 2001. This evening, we gather to remember the people we lost on that day. We have all seen or heard the phrase, "America will never forget." And 24 years later, Piscataway Elks has gathered again to hold true that claim. At this time, I would like to introduce Rita Massamy, our Lodge Secretary.
Thank you, Peter. As we and the rest of the country mark the 24th anniversary of this event, many of you have already revisited the emotions you felt in the moments that followed the terrorist attacks. On that clear sky blue morning of 9/11, our focus began as we watched with horror the tragedy unfolding on our television screens as the Twin Towers were engulfed in flames and slowly collapsed. As we understood the enormity of what we were witnessing, think about the courage of our policemen and firemen who rushed into 2 burning towers to get thousands to safety. Little did we know that only a short time later, more tragedy would befall us as a plane crashed into a section of the Pentagon and more lives were senselessly lost. Marie Kleeman will now read a short poem entitled Why from an unknown author, while Lodge member and Piscataway firefighter Rich Racine is joined by Mayor Brian Waller as they light a candle to remember those who lost their lives at the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. This poem has now been inscribed onto the table behind me as part of our monument.
Grief and sorrow struck this nation in an unexplainable way, leaving us surrounded by tears and sorrow, and only one thing left to say: why? Why did this have to happen? What did we do so wrong? Why did you have to take our loved ones? How do you replace those who are gone? But we still will not go quietly. We will stand up and fight. United, we will stand together for what is truth, what is right. Heroes rose out of the ashes to save a life we thought we lost, never thinking what might happen, never caring what the cost. They didn't do it for the glory. They didn't do it for the fame. They only did what they knew was right. They are our heroes who have no name. United, we can build a better tomorrow. Let us finish what they began to start. Let us say a prayer for them together and keep them close in heart.
Thank you, Marie. I would like to introduce Lodge officers Leading Knight Tony Atkins, Loyal Knight John Engels, and Inner Guard Joe Massamy.
Thank you, Peter. As we all know, the next planned attack, a flight originally scheduled to land in San Francisco, was hijacked in midair and was headed towards our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Getting information via cell phones and with the realization of a terrorist plan underway, 40 courageous passengers and crew of United Flight 93 took matters into their own hands. As they stormed the cabin of the plane to save lives, or perhaps hundreds of innocent people, as their plane went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We have since come to recognize Todd Beamer's phrase, "Let's roll." John Engels now will read the poem entitled, Let's Roll.
Let's roll, on towards that majestic goal, to defeat the enemy in his 9/11 roll. Let's roll, not kowtowing to the spoil, but ever rejoicing to the mighty toil. Let's roll, notwithstanding our grief and death, for we're the ones who've been put to the test. Let's roll, not just now, but in our waning years, lift up our torch to the welcoming cheers. Let's roll, for we are the ones who gave up our lives for our loving sons. Roll on, don't dare give up the fight, for life, liberty, and happiness is within our sight. Roll on, courageous light.
in an effort to tie the three events of September 11th together, the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and United's Flight 93, a 2-ton, 14-foot high cross made of steel from the World Trade Center was transported on Saturday, August 23, 2008, from New York to the Shanksville, Pennsylvania Volunteer Fire Department as part of a monument in front of the firehouse to honor those who gave their lives on Flight 93. As hundreds of firefighters, policemen, and citizens throughout New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania proudly waved our country's flag and bowed their heads in prayers, the steel cross made a 311-mile journey accompanied by hundreds of motorcyclists, many of whom were current or retired New York firefighters. On September 10, 2011, the first part of the Flight 93 National Memorial, which is located at the site of the crash in Shanksville, was dedicated. And on September 10, 2015, the Visitor Center was opened. And as visitors to this site gathered together, the Tower of Voices, a 93-foot tall musical instrument made of steel and concrete, holding 40 wind chimes, one dedicated to each of the 40 heroes that took back the plane after it was hijacked during that terrorist attack, will peal forth. What was once a common field is now a field of honor forever. In New York City, 2011, at the site of the World Trade Center, the National September 11th Memorial opened. The memorial's twin reflecting pools are each nearly an acre in size and feature the largest man-made waterfall in North America. The pools sit within the footprints where the Twin Towers stood. The names of every person who died on the 2001 attacks are inscribed into bronze panels edging the memorial pools. A foreign attack on American soil is a reminder of the largest loss of life. In 2014, the Memorial Museum opened at that site.
Thank you, Tony, John, and Joe. In 2006, member Bob Martineau created a replica of the Twin Towers from the trunk of a fallen tree in front of our lodge. Sadly, weather took its toll on our monument, and those towers succumbed to nature. Noting this, Corey Peen, a member of Boy Scout Troop 67, inquired about a project to be completed at our lodge in order to earn his Eagle Scout badge. Noting the new foundation for the towers provided by the lodge member Frank Contessa, with Corey's insightful planning and help from his fellow Troop 67 members, family, and friends, you now see before you a truly impressive 9/11 memorial. All these monuments stand to remind us and future generations of the events of September 11th, 2001, and to honor the fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, neighbors and friends who lost their lives on that fateful day. Let us take a moment to remember Harry Glenn, age 38, Li Ming Gu, age 34, and Yesh Tembi, age 59, all residents of Piscataway who didn't make it home on September 11th. Our fallen heroes' lives were not in vain. We will remember the hundreds of uniformed personnel and civilians who sacrificed their lives by running into the towers, the heroes who remained in the towers to help the others escape, the brave passengers and crew of Flight 93, and we will remember the 184 unsuspecting victims at the Pentagon. I would like to take time to remember the survivors of 9/11. They are special people who have gone through pain and suffering, difficult losses, and life-altering experiences. We cannot begin to comprehend the emotions they have endured. We have the utmost respect for them, and they will remain in our thoughts and prayers. Since the horrific events that unfolded on that fateful day, tens of thousands of U.S. troops have been injured or have given the ultimate sacrifice on the war against terrorism in the continued fight for our freedom. Lodge veterans Bill Kleeman and Dan Bernstein will light the final candle in honor of memory. All veterans present today are also welcome to join them to salute and pay tribute to our military. At this time, I would like to thank deceased member Paul Martineau, who originated the thought that the Elks should commemorate 9/11 on an annual basis. Also, thanks to Marie Kleeman for scripting our beautiful ceremony, Boy Scout Troop 67, and the River Road Fire Company for once again participating in this evening's ceremony. I now have the pleasure to introduce Senator Bob Smith, if you care to say a few words.
Last night, I was in North Brunswick Township at a planning board hearing. And the way they started the meeting was to say, tomorrow is 9/11. And from the town of North Brunswick, we had the following residents who were killed at the World Trade Center, and it's 24 years later, really hard to believe. And I have a feeling that any public ceremonies occurring this week, there was that remembrance. I don't know how you start your 9/11, but the way in which I start my 9/11 is turn on the TV. And you immediately see the remembrance ceremony out of Manhattan. And as has been the tradition over now 2.5 decades, there is a portion of the ceremony where the sons and daughters of the deceased read their names and a bell is clapped. What amazed me, and maybe it's just a function of the impact of time, but I remember when the people ringing the bell looked like our Boy Scouts. And now they're grown men and women with their own families. And what landed on me in that moment is all of these people didn't have a mom or dad for the last 24 years. What a way to grow up. We know that we had more than 3,000 people killed in 9/11. It's a lot of America that lost their parents. And it when you watch it, it stings your soul because you say, why? Why did that have to happen? And what does it mean to us today, 9/11/2025? Well, one of the things it means to me is that life is really fragile, that you really don't know what's going to happen in your life today or tomorrow. And God bless our public safety services, whether it's our police, our fire, and or our volunteers. And one of the reasons I think the Elks Club does a great thing by having this ceremony every year is to remind us just how special we are to each other. We need to care about each other. We may not agree about everything. In fact, if we did agree, I'd probably be in a different country. But we don't have to agree about everything. But the one thing we really need to do for each other is to care for each other. And if we do that, we may have learned the true lesson of 9/11. So thank you again for reminding us of how important it is to remember their sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to introduce Mayor Brian Waller of Piscataway Township.
Before I say a few words, I would like to acknowledge some of the other officials that are here this evening. We have our Middlesex County Sheriff, Millie Scott. Millie, give a wave. And then we have our County Commissioner, Chanel Scott McCollum, in the back. And then we also have the Council President, Dennis Espinoza, 3rd Ward Councilwoman, Sharon Carmichael, Council Vice President and 4th Ward Councilwoman Michelle Lombardi, and 1st Ward Councilman Frank Earn. I want to thank everybody for coming out to this ceremony this evening, and I especially want to thank the folks at the Elks Lodge 2414 for sponsoring this event and bringing us all together on this very special and humbling day. We often hear the refrain to remember September 11th. And we should. But what are we truly to remember? That it was a devastation, the day of devastation? Thousands of Americans needlessly lost their lives? Symbols of American commerce and defense in a rural field in Pennsylvania become sites for mass murder? The victims and their families are at a forefront of our minds, as they should be. But let us also remember the day after and the days after that. As America wept and struggled, our unity came forth. We felt a common grief in an uncommon time. We recognize the humanity of all who call America home. Yet sadly, nearly a quarter of a century later, America is fractured, divided, grasping for an understanding of what we are and what we should be. It should not be the bounty of America that binds us. It should be the willingness to work together to achieve true greatness. We should not simply enjoy opportunity. We should also strive for a common good, to again see humanity in each other, to help our neighbor, to be a more perfect union. So as we remember this day, September 11th, as we honor the victims, let us all remember how we responded. And I want to thank Peter Naiman, the Exalted Ruler, for being the MC today of this very solemn occasion. And I also want to say, I too every one of us can vividly remember that day. I was over in police dispatch headquarters, and all the officers, we called them all in because we didn't know what was going on. And we knew what was going on several hours after that fact, but it did forever change how we operate at the local level and at the national level of government when it comes to security of our country. And as Senator Smith said, I want to eternally thank those first responders who gave their lives, and also the ones who were there in the aftermath. And as a side note, the 9/11 fund, I believe, is running out of funds. And there's a lot of talk in Congress about re-upping that authorization. And I know a lot of people, it's been 24 years after the fact, but now a lot of the implications that happened to a lot of the people that were down by the Trade Center physically and mentally are really coming to a forefront. And that's one of the things when I get a chance to meet with Congressman Frank Pallone and Senator Booker this coming week about that. That's one of the things I'm going to be mentioning to them about that. So with that, thank you, Exalted Ruler Naiman.
I'd like to introduce Mildred Scott. Sheriff, do you care to say a few words?
Same here. I can exactly remember where I was at 9/11.
Come up.
Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, I remember where I was at 9/11. And actually, I was with my two grandsons. One was 1 year old, and the other one was 2. It was 2 years old. And I was pulling out of the driveway over there and going up and looking up and said, "What's going on?" heading up to East Orange to do something. By the time I got here, it was a disaster. And we said, oh my God, what is going on? What is going on? You know, we remember and we should never forget. We should definitely never forget. But I think about the people that were killed in 9/11, but I also think about the people with health issues that went in, that were there, and they're still suffering from it. And as Amir said, some of them are medically and some of them are mental. Something mentally coming on. So I want to say to you, the money's running out. Yes, it's running out. However, yes, I think we're going to try to work on that, and I think it should be worked on. And as Senator Smith says, we have to treat each other with love. We have to. We may disagree about so many things, but we have to remember, we are family. We are all family. We may come from different cultures and different backgrounds, but the love should be there for all of us. And the times that we're in right now is very different times. And I think 9/11 is here. If we remember that, let's try to remember to make things better for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Scott. I would like to now introduce our Elk dignitaries. We have District Deputy Grand Exalted Ruler Dan DeZeo. Can we care to say a few words?
Brothers and sisters, friends and fellow Elks, on this day, we pause to remember the morning of September 11, 2001. We honor nearly the 3,000 innocent lives lost, the heroes who rushed into danger, and the families whose lives were changed forever. As Elks, we are called to uphold charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity. Today, those values guide us as we remember the courage of the first responders, the sacrifice of our military, and the unity carried out by our nation forward in the face of tragedy. May we never forget the sacrifice and the lives and honor the lives of those who made that sacrifice. Sorry, I lost my thing here. This was a really good ceremony, by the way, Piscataway. I was at one a few years back. It's a great thing to do. Never changed that. It's definitely heartfelt. The whole time I've been sitting here, I was just thinking about where I was on that day. I was a sophomore in high school, and I remember my principal coming over the loudspeaker saying a plane hit into the World Trade Center, and I said, we're all looking at each other going, well, maybe a small plane, didn't know. Next thing you know, classes are changing, we're going to the next class, comes on again. Another plane hit. Now that's just mass chaos all throughout the hallways and everything's going on. It was just chaos. I remember I had to get picked up by my mom's friend because she was at work. We went to her house and we were just watching the TV. And I just remember watching in the living room the planes hitting and the towers just going down. It just this irky moment, you know. We'll never forget. God bless all of you that are here today. May God keep on blessing the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to introduce Central District Vice President Dan Pensek.
As a member of Piscataway Elks, I must thank President Pete, our officers and members for this solemn ceremony. As District Vice President, I am grateful that each year Piscataway Elks conducts this ceremony, and I'm honored to speak in front of you. Anyone old enough remembers exactly where and what they were doing on that horrible day. The lives lost and the heroic acts should never be forgotten. But this ceremony should also remind us how we came together as a nation in support of each other. This memory is more important today than ever. If history has taught us one thing, we are more alike than different. And working together is our country's secret strength in overcoming adversity and creating a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I would like to invite up State Trustee Betty Belanca.
Thank you, E.R. Peter. And thank you to the Piscataway Elks. You do a fantastic job. I get very emotional every year with this ceremony because it's just, we all remember where we were and what happened that day. And watching TV today reminded us again. But did anybody remember where they were the day after? Do you remember all the flags that were put on homes, all the flags that were on cars? We were unified then. We need to remember the day after 9/11 and stay unified. That's one thing we need. I would like to share with you a quote. If we learn nothing else from this tragedy, we learn that life is short and there is no time for hate. That was written by Sandy Dahl, the wife of Flight 93 pilot Jason Dahl. Thank you all. God bless America.
Thank you, Betty. I'd now like to introduce past Special Deputy Grand Exalted Ruler Francis J. DeCibis.
Officer of Piscataway Lodge number 2414, members all, members of the civic community, Mayor. You know, you heard so much this evening about various stories where people were about on 9/11. And our trustee just said to you what I've been thinking about since I got up this morning. And as I traveled through Middlesex County and Somerset County, I took particular notice of all the homes that hadn't displayed a flag. But remember, when 9/11 hit, they couldn't sell enough of them. So maybe our mission going forward on this particular day and those of every other patriotic day, that we get the word out to our communities that flying our flag is a sign of unity and patriotism, and remembering those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, either through the various wars and conflicts, but also through the 9/11 event. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Exalted Ruler, for inviting me, and I hope and pray that we never have to experience such an incident again in our lifetime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis. I now introduce past Grand Lodge Committeeman Pete Smith.
Thank you, Exalted Ruler. To the members of Piscataway Lodge 2414, thank you. I can only say thank you, thank you, thank you. The members, the officers, for what you do to remind us. And you heard everybody speak today. But there's one thing we all must understand. I was asked to say just 3 words, God bless America. But I only have to say one, love. We all have to love each other. I don't care if you're on the left or you're on the right. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, independent or a freestanding individual. We all need to unite. We are all Americans. We may be immigrants or children of immigrants or whatever, but we are all American. And that flag, that's what we all, the veterans, all fought for. Our first responders walked into those burning buildings with our American flag. We are Americans. We need to unite. We need to do this every day. You heard it over and over again. So I want to thank all our civic leaders, our state senator, our mayor here in Piscataway, and the council people. Piscataway Lodge 2414, Exalted Ruler Peter, thank you so much. God bless us all. Sheriff, County Commissioner, God bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And hopefully we all can unite. God bless.
Thank you, Pete. This concludes our Patriots Day Remembrance Ceremony. God bless America and God bless our troops. I thank you for all coming, and if you care to join us for some light refreshments inside, we're done. Thank you.